this week's chapter of One Piece, Sanji confronts his past as the third son of the Vinsmoke family and prepares for a tea party of epic proportions. This week's chapter of One Piece kind of reminded me of that one episode of Pokemon where Pikachu decided that he was going to leave Ash and live with some wild Pikachu. Of course, at the end of the day, we know he wasn't going to leave him, but yet it still managed to hit you right in the feels. And that's exactly what's going on in this week's chapter of One Piece. Sanji has decided that he is going to leave his friends on the island of Zou as he goes to meet Big Mom and take care of some personal business. He even leaves behind a note saying that he's going to go see a girl, and that girl is Pudding. Or Purin, I'm not really sure. All the translations are all over the place. What I will say is this week's chapter was very simple, but it was still a really great read. I especially loved all of the little hints that they're giving. The fact that Brook might actually know something, but he's not speaking about it out loud. He seems to be familiar with the Vinsmoke name, and he sees that there's some sort of connection to this with Sanji, but he isn't talking. He's not saying anything quite yet, and they can't really speak out loud that much because they're surrounded by a bunch of gangsters hanging out in Capone's body, which effectively is a giant castle. And we get to learn that he basically does have complete dominion over everything that goes on in his body. He can sort of mold everything, sort of like a clay, so he can trap people when they're inside just by sort of manipulating everything. In many ways, it's kind of like that one episode of Dragon Ball Z where Goku and Vegeta go inside Majin Buu's body. Think of that just with a 1930s style gangster. The biggest takeaways from this week's chapter of One Piece, of course, is that Sanji has finally decided to leave and take care of this business. I'm not really sure what he's going to do. And is it just me, or is it really funny that Sanji is just so distraught and angry over the prospect of actually getting married? This is a character whose personality traits are based around the fact that he loves women. He loves love. He's looking for that one true love. Yet at the same time, he can't seem to settle. I mean, just look at the way he's constantly ogling Nico Robin or Nami or basically any other busty female that he runs into. Hell, even the Mink Tribe are fair game for Sanji. Another thing that I really loved about this chapter is that we actually did have some new characters and we got to see the return of some old characters. The old characters first. First, we got another pretty decent look at what Big Mom is going to look like, and very similar to the designs that we've seen before. Basically just an absolutely massive, ridiculous old lady head with a little bit of lipstick. I'm not sure if it's as horrifying as that one that we saw earlier in previous, but I cannot wait to see how big this Big Mom really is at the end of the day. We also have this other gangster character by the name of Vito, and he seems to have some privileged information that he ends up giving to Sanji, which is what sort of convinces him that he has to leave and take care of this. And of course he whispers it in his ear so we can't hear it, and this is either because A, we don't want it to be revealed yet, or B, Oda actually doesn't know the answer himself and he's still trying to come up with that. So predictably, the chapter ends with Sanji leaving a note with his friends as he literally kicks them out of Capone's body, and they end up changing back into their regular sizes, and Capone decides to leave after running into Nekomamushi, transforming into a tank. Yes, he can do that as well. So what's the rundown on this week's chapter of One Piece? A very simple chapter, but still, I really enjoyed it. I love the fact that they're finally starting to clarify some things about Sanji. The fact that he was clearly hiding something from his past that he never intended to run into again. That was something that he was bringing up. But at the end of the day, as we all know, pasts always come back to haunt people, and this one is going to be coming back in full force, and I can't wait to see what sort of ripple effect it's going to have on the rest of this story arc, as well as on the characters, in particular from the Straw Hat crew. Of course, you know that Luffy is going to be incredibly passionate about getting Sanji back, and nothing is going to stand in his way, except for maybe a few important characters like Jack the Drought, who undoubtedly is going to return, not to mention the inevitable confrontation with Big Mom herself. Yes, God, I cannot wait to see these characters for the very first time as they're not shrouded in shadow anymore. We finally get to learn about them and how they're connected to this whole Vinsmoke family. And I really can't wait to see more of Sanji's family. I can't wait to see if they actually look like him, if they have like the, you know, the similar features with the twirliness and everything. Maybe they're all chain smokers just like him. We're just going to have to wait and see. What I will say is, this chapter completely demonstrated that you can't believe everything that you hear from the series. You know, before, Sanji was just an orphan who was picked up by this pirate who became a cook, and that was the end of the story. It really isn't. If anything, this is just the beginning. And I'm glad that they're focusing on a character like Sanji. He's definitely one of the fan-favorite characters from the series. Hell, he's probably my third favorite character from One Piece. So I'm really glad that they're finally focusing on him. I only hope that they're going to be able to give this sort of attention to the other members of the Straw Hat Pirates so that they can flesh them out just a little bit more. And I have no doubt that's going to happen. If there's one thing that the One Piece series does good, it is characterization and having time with all of the characters. This time, though, it all belongs to Sanji. All I know is I really loved this chapter quite a bit. It was a very entertaining read. Now that we're finally done with all these flashbacks, we can finally move forward with the story, but these flashbacks were not off-putting whatsoever, especially because in the grand scheme of things, we haven't seen Sanji for a long time. You know, ever since he fought against Doflamingo in the Dressrosa arc and then rejoined his friends, that was it. We hadn't seen him for such a long time, so I'm really glad that they're going to focus on that character. On the technical side of things, this week's chapter looked pretty good, just about as good as any other One Piece chapter. Nothing really crazy going on, you know, but I still love the designs of a lot of the characters, especially Capone himself, who, when I first saw him back in the day in the original One Piece anime series, this was before I even read the manga, I thought he was just sort of a plain, ordinary villain, and we probably wouldn't even see him again. The fact that he's come back in full force with some really cool powers, and the fact that he can transform his body into frickin' tank treads is pretty freaking awesome. I cannot wait to see more of what this character is truly capable of. It's just so weird that he's able to sort of like talk with people inside of his body as he's sort of like autonomously walking. It's very, very strange. One of the craziest devil fruit powers that I have seen from the series. So, can't wait to see where it's going from here. Really entertaining read right here. Not a perfect chapter. I really wish they would have gotten through this stuff a little quicker. That being said, everything that was here was still pretty good. So, I'm going to give this week's chapter of One Piece a 4 out of 5. Check it out, One Piece fans. Whether you're watching the anime or reading the manga, you'll definitely like this chapter. But if you did read this week's chapter of One Piece, please tell me what you thought about it in the comment section below. What's the deal with Sanji and the Vinsmoke family anyway? Please tell me your comments and your theories and what you hope to see from the rest of this arc of One Piece. You guys are awesome! Thank you again for watching. Make sure to like the video if you would like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you guys again for watching, and as always, stay dandy, baby!